You wake up. For a moment, everything feels normal, then you notice it. Something is missing, not your keys, not your wallet, but time itself. Hours have vanished, leaving a blank space where last night should be. Your phone shows calls you don't remember making. Numbers with no names. Messages you never typed. In your pocket, a hotel keycard to a place you have never visited. And inside your mind, one question keeps repeating. Where was I? Most people would call it stress. A bad night. A memory glitch. But what if it wasn't? What if that missing time wasn't an accident of biology, but something engineered? Because in the middle of the 20th century, in the shadows of the Cold War, the United States government began asking a question so disturbing that it still echoes today. Can the human mind be controlled? Not influenced, not persuaded, controlled. This is not a rumor, not an internet conspiracy, not a movie plot. It is documented history. A real CIA program, confirmed by declassified records and later Senate investigations. A name that still feels unreal when spoken out loud, MK Ultra. To understand why MK Ultra happened, you have to understand the world that created it. The 1950s, a planet divided into two nuclear giants, the United States and the Soviet Union. This was not only a conflict of armies, it was a conflict of systems, ideology, and paranoia. Both sides believed the other was capable of anything, and in Washington a new fear began spreading, one that could not be stopped by missiles or borders. Fear of something invisible, brainwashing. During the Korean War, American prisoners of war returned home, but some appeared changed, some gave strange interviews, some criticized their own country, some seemed psychologically broken. Newspapers began using a word that sounded almost fictional. Mind control. The idea was terrifying. What if the Soviets had found a way to rewrite loyalty? What if they could turn captured soldiers into puppets? If the enemy could control thought, then no nation was truly safe. Because a bomb destroys buildings, but mind control destroys identity, and enough broken minds could destabilize an entire society. Inside the CIA, the conclusion was simple. If the Soviets were doing it, America could not fall behind. Fear became urgency. Urgency became obsession, and obsession became a program that would remain hidden for decades. On April 13, 1953, CIA Director Allen Dulles authorized a classified project. Its name was never meant for the public. MK Ultra. It was not a single experiment. It was an umbrella program that eventually expanded into more than 150 sub-projects, spread across universities, hospitals, prisons, and secret safe houses. Funding was hidden through front organizations, disguised as innocent academic grants. On paper, it looked like research. In reality, it was something far darker. At the center of it was one man, Sidney Gottlieb. Officially, he was a chemist. Unofficially, he became the architect of psychological destruction. His mission was simple to describe and horrifying to imagine. Find a way to break the human mind, erase memory, destroy personality, force confessions, create obedience. The CIA wasn't just trying to gather information, they wanted control. Total control. And then they found what they believed was the perfect tool. A substance barely understood at the time, a chemical doorway into the psyche, LSD. Today, LSD is often associated with counterculture, music festivals, and the 1960s. But in the early 1950s, LSD was not a recreational drug. To the CIA, it was a weapon candidate, a military asset. Agency memos described hallucinogens as possible tools for interrogation, chemicals that could dissolve resistance, distort perception, and shatter the sense of self. Under LSD, reality collapses, time bends, identity fractures, paranoia blooms. The CIA asked a question that should never have been asked. If we give someone LSD, can we make them talk? Can we make them confess? Can we make them break? At first, the experiments were framed as controlled research, volunteers, clinical language, laboratory settings. But that illusion did not last. Because MK Ultra was never truly about science. It was about power, and power does not like limits. The experiments moved beyond laboratories and into real lives, unwitting lives. Some CIA employees were dosed without warning, simply to observe what happened when control disappeared. They sat in meetings, drank a glass of water, and suddenly, reality collapsed. The agency wanted to know what happens when the mind loses its anchor, when fear takes over, when identity cracks. Because the real question wasn't, can LSD alter the brain? The real question was darker. When a mind breaks, can it be reshaped? That is the line MKUltra crossed almost immediately. And once crossed, there was no clean return. Because if the state can enter the mind, then privacy is dead. Freedom becomes fragile, and the human being becomes material. A subject, an object, a test. MKUltra was born in secrecy, protected by classification and justified by national security. The public had no idea. Congress did not fully know. Oversight barely existed. Everything happened behind locked doors, and the CIA kept pushing further. Because the Cold War was not only about weapons in the sky, but weapons in the brain. And LSD was only the beginning. Once the agency believed the mind could be invaded, they began imagining the unthinkable. Can we erase someone completely? Can we wipe memory clean? Can we implant something new? Can we create a person who doesn't know who they are? The surviving documents and later Senate testimony confirm it. These were not metaphors. These were objectives. And, as MKUltra expanded, the methods grew darker, the subjects more vulnerable, and the boundary between national defense and human rights vanished. The most disturbing part is simple. This was not happening in some distant dictatorship. This was happening inside the United States, authorized at the highest levels, funded in secret, a program designed to unlock the mind by breaking it. And if this story feels unreal, that's because it should. But it was real. And it was only the first chapter, because soon, MKUltra would produce a case so shocking that it still haunts American history. A man who never consented. A dose slipped into a drink, a mind unraveling, and a fall from a hotel window. His name was Frank Olson. In November 1953, during a CIA-linked retreat, Olson was allegedly slipped LSD in his drink. He didn't know. No warning. No consent. In the days that followed, Olson changed. He became paranoid, afraid, unstable. He was no longer just a scientist. He was a witness burdened by guilt and terrified by what he knew. He told colleagues he felt like something was wrong, like he was being watched, like he was losing himself. And then, only days later, Frank Olson fell from the 10th floor of a New York hotel. The official ruling was simple: suicide. But his family spent decades asking a different question. Did he jump, or was he pushed? In the 1970s, the US government admitted Olson had been dosed without his knowledge. The case remains one of the most disturbing examples of how MKUltra reached into real lives, and sometimes ended them. But Olson was only one thread. Because the greatest scandal of MKUltra was not LSD itself, it was the subjects. Many of them had no choice. The experiments took place in places where people could not refuse. Mental hospitals, prisons, addiction clinics, institutions filled with the vulnerable. The people society had already forgotten. Some never even knew what was happening to them. Consent was often meaningless because the subjects were powerless. The CIA justified it with two words: national security. But the moral question remained: can a government turn its own citizens into experimental objects? As MKUltra expanded, it moved beyond drugs into psychological destruction. One of the darkest concepts explored was called psychic driving, associated with psychiatrist Donald Ewan Cameron. Cameron was not an underground figure. He was respected, world-renowned, and even presided over major psychiatric organizations. Through CIA-linked funding, including money funneled through front groups, Cameron pursued something terrifying. First, erase the mind, through massive electroshock, through drug-induced coma, through sensory collapse. Patients were subjected to repeated shocks far beyond normal therapeutic levels, combined with heavy sedatives, in an effort to break down personality itself. Cameron didn't simply want to treat illness. He aimed to regress adults back into a state of infancy, a blank slate. Then, once the subject was reduced to nothing, recorded messages were played, over and over, thousands of times. You will obey, you will forget, you will change. It was an attempt to overwrite identity like a tape. Many patients left those experiments broken. Some could no longer remember their families. Some could no longer function independently. Some never recovered. And yet it continued, because secrecy protects cruelty and classification shields accountability. MKUltra also extended into prisons. Inmates were offered cigarettes, small rewards, or reduced sentences in exchange for participation. But consent under captivity is not consent. It is coercion. The CIA wanted subjects who could not say no, minds they could push past the limit. And beyond institutions, MK Ultra spread into universities, campuses, classrooms, research labs. Funding was hidden through front organizations and grants with innocent names, so even researchers sometimes did not fully understand who was truly watching. On paper it looked academic. Underneath, the intelligence community was measuring, testing, mapping the human mind as if it were enemy territory. And then there were the safe houses. One of MK Ultra's strangest sub-projects was called Operation Midnight Climax. The CIA rented apartments in major cities, designed for surveillance. The agency hired sex workers to lure unsuspecting men into these rooms. Behind one-way mirrors, agents watched as unwitting individuals were drugged and observed. Human behavior was being manipulated in real time. The goal was chilling. When consciousness changes, how easily can a person be controlled? How quickly can judgment collapse? How vulnerable does the mind become when reality itself is distorted? These were not harmless games. They were experiments in humiliation, manipulation, and psychological invasion. And the most disturbing part is that many of the subjects never knew. They simply walked back into their lives carrying confusion they could not explain, damage they could not name. By the 1960s, MK Ultra had become less like a single program and more like a network of darkness, scattered across the country. Drugs, hypnosis, sensory deprivation, electroshock, psychological breaking, the mind treated not as sacred, but as material. A battlefield, a weapon to be built, and as the years passed, the pressure began to rise. Because programs like this cannot stay hidden forever. Secrecy has a cost. Eventually someone asks questions. Eventually evidence surfaces. Eventually the walls begin to close in. And soon, the CIA would make a decision that would haunt history. Not to confess, not to explain, but to erase. To destroy the records. To burn the truth. To pretend it never happened. Because drugs were only the first layer of the fire. Papers can be burned, but the trauma etched into human lives, that never truly turns to ash. Because drugs were only one part of it, MK Ultra explored other methods too. Sleep deprivation, hypnosis, sensory deprivation. Some subjects were kept in rooms without sound, without light, without time. The brain collapses inward, reality dissolves. Experts would later describe these methods as psychological torture. And then, in the early 1970s, the walls began to close in. Watergate shook America. Government secrecy was exposed, trust collapsed, and the CIA panicked. In 1973, CIA Director Richard Helms ordered MK Ultra records destroyed, burned, shredded, erased. Thousands of documents vanished. A question hangs over that moment like smoke. If this program was harmless, why destroy the evidence? MK Ultra could have remained buried forever. But one mistake changed everything. Some documents survived, misfiled, forgotten, and in Senate investigations, the truth surfaced. The American people learned something unimaginable. For years, the CIA had conducted mind control experiments. This wasn't speculation. It was history. Declassified. Confirmed. By the mid-1970s, MK Ultra was no longer just a rumor inside intelligence circles. Pieces of it began surfacing in public, not because the CIA confessed, but because the US government was being forced to look inward. In 1975, the United States Senate launched what became known as the Church Committee, a major investigation into intelligence abuses. For the first time, Americans heard something almost impossible. The CIA had spent years conducting experiments on human beings, often without consent, in the pursuit of mind control. The hearings revealed fragments, surviving documents, testimony, enough to confirm that MK Ultra was real, but not enough to show the full scale, because most of it was already gone. Destroyed in 1973, burned on orders, which meant the Senate was investigating a program where the evidence had been deliberately erased. And that fact alone is chilling, because destruction is not neutrality, it is intent. It suggests that what remained hidden was worse than what was revealed. The confirmed record already included over 150 sub-projects, experiments involving hallucinogens, sensory deprivation, electroshock, hypnosis, psychological breaking, entire networks of front organizations, hospitals, prisons, universities, safe houses. The mind treated as territory, as material, as a battlefield, and this is what makes MK Ultra so difficult to process. It wasn't a single rogue scientist. It wasn't an isolated mistake. It was institutional, funded, structured, protected by secrecy, driven by fear. The Cold War created the justification, the Soviets might be doing it, so America must do it first. Fear became permission, permission became policy, and policy became experimentation. MK Ultra was officially shut down. The files were burned. The name disappeared. But history teaches something simple. Governments rarely abandon tools. They rename them. They bury them. They continue under different language, different oversight, different shadows. So, when people ask, did MK Ultra end? The honest answer is complicated. MK Ultra ended as a title, but the obsession behind it, the desire to control, never truly vanished. Because MK Ultra was never only about LSD, it was about something deeper. The moment a government decides, the human mind is not sacred, that memory can be invaded, that identity can be dismantled, that citizens can become experiments, and once that line is crossed, it is very hard to uncross it. There is a reason MK Ultra still feels unreal, because it forces us to confront something uncomfortable. Not about the CIA, not about drugs, but about power. About what happens when institutions believe the ends justify the means. Many subjects never knew they were part of anything at all. They simply woke up different, with blank spaces in their minds, with panic they couldn't explain, with trauma they couldn't name, and when they spoke, who would believe them? Most people would dismiss it. Paranoia, delusion. But MK Ultra proved something horrifying. Sometimes the unbelievable is true, and that is why this story still echoes today. Because unanswered history never stays silent. It lingers, it mutates, it becomes myth. But MK Ultra doesn't need myth. The confirmed facts are already enough. A government agency conducted mind control experiments, used hallucinogens, destroyed records, and admitted officially that it happened. The final question is not whether MK Ultra existed. It did. The final question is this: if it happened once, under the justification of fear, what stops it from happening again? Because the most dangerous weapon was never the bomb. It was never the missile. It was never the gun. The most dangerous weapon is the mind. And whoever controls it, controls everything. If you want more documentaries like this, grounded in real history and the hidden stories of power, join us as we uncover what's been buried. Subscribe to support the channel. New investigations are coming soon.